Let's get back to some of these crazy characters, crazy, wonderful characters. How about, let's start with Tom Baldwin and Roy Knabenshue. Hopefully I said that one right. That's a little rough.
So Baldwin, and I call him Knabenshue. You may be right, Knabenshue. They are probably the most famous early aviators of the 20th century. And so this is, again, going back to this question of the Wrights. Once the Wrights had made their flights at Kitty Hawk, the next summer they went to Huffman Prairie and they advanced the flyer, but they did pretty much all their flight testing in secret. And, the big outcry was, they said, we have this machine that will fly, but they were unwilling to do a public exhibition of that and prove that they could actually get off the ground. And this, as you might imagine, caused a lot of discomfort, I suppose, credibility problems, perhaps, because there had been many people at this time who claimed to have a flying machine. So the Wrights aren't going to actually fly in public until 1908. And the reason they don't do that is they're afraid that people are going to steal their ideas. Until they get patent protection, they don't want to risk having, this snatched away from them. And so they pretty much do secret flight testing. They tell people they can fly, but the proof is hard to find on the ground. So if you were to go back in some sort of time machine to say 1906 or 1907 and ask anybody on the street, who are the aviators around here? Who's flying in this country? They're going to say Tom Baldwin and Roy Knabenshue, because these are really the two foremost aviators of their day. And they're both flying dirigibles. Tom Baldwin is, as you say, a character. We don't really know a lot about his past other than what he told newspapers of the day, and that was his parents were killed by rebels in the Civil War, and he was orphaned at a very young age, forced to go off and make his own way. He joined the railroad, and one day a circus manager saw him gambling across the tops of the railway cars and said, "Boy, you should be a trapeze artist. Come join the circus." So Baldwin ran away, joined the circus, became a trapeze artist. Whether his parents were really killed in the Civil War or not, that remains an open question, but he did become a trapeze artist. And so in the late 19th century and starting into the 20th century, he's doing all sorts of stunts around San Francisco. And ultimately, you have to kind of keep ahead of the competition. So Baldwin finds out about these acrobats who've come up with a parachute, and he does some parachute testing and decides that, the great thing to do would be to jump out of a hot air balloon and fly down to the ground with this parachute and make this spectacular landing. And of course, charge everybody in the park for the privilege of watching him risk his life. And when you think about parachutes today, you think about, this very sophisticated device, and you're all strapped in and you have a harness. Well, Baldwin is just hanging on to essentially a trapeze bar, and he's jumping out from 1,000, 2,000 feet and just sitting there hanging by his hands from a trapeze bar and gliding down to the earth. So it really was a spectacular feat, no question about it. Later, he's going to get into hot air ballooning, so he's going to try to set some ballooning records. But when he finds out about what August Greth had done flying across San Francisco, he kind of weasels his way onto August Greth's team. He's got all this pilot experience now that he's a big hot air ballooner, and tries to help fly the California Eagle. Greth and Baldwin are going to have a difference of opinion, so Greth is going to go off and build his own ship, the California Arrow, a competing vessel.